Welcome everyone. This is the COVID-19 Customer Experience Roundtable. The goal of today is really to kind of spread the wealth and knowledge of how different companies, different platforms are handling this time. Obviously, it's an unprecedented time with no real playbook, right? So we're kind of all, on our heels on a day-to-day basis. So this is really meant to shed some insight on, different perspectives, how we can deal with this, and the best foot forward, moving ahead. So without further ado, you just met myself and Amanda. We now want to give our panelists a few minutes to introduce themselves. So Manuel, feel free.
Good. Good morning, afternoon, or whatever. I'd like to introduce myself quickly. My name is Manuel Füchslin. I'm from Switzerland and product owner for Ochsner Sports. Ochsner Sports is the biggest retailer in Switzerland, and we do the e-commerce, and we also have like 82 stores actually, which are at the moment closed. They got closed on the 7th of April, and luckily we are hoping to opening up again on the 11th of May.
Great, thanks Manuel.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm Ryan from User Conversion. We're a optimization agency based in the UK, particularly focused around working with e-commerce clients. And yeah, I guess we work with some of the UK's leading websites. They also have retail presence, and like Manuel, the majority of stores are also closed right now.
And Albert?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Albert. I'm CEO of Stellar Labs. Stellar is a consulting partner of Dynamic Yield. We work with 12 different customers across different verticals in Russia and in Israel. And also we have experience of working with customers in Eastern Europe. And we're a bit behind Western Europe in terms of COVID. It is still growing in Russia, so we have, some countries to learn from, but still in the process of like growing, like the second country after US in terms of numbers. So we'll be happy to share my thoughts and insights today.
Great, thank you. So we all know it's an unprecedented time, right? So with COVID-19, our standard plans have had to change. We're being forced to really think on the fly and make quick adjustments to what we have had planned for the next few months when it comes to e-commerce. Also trying to pick up what's, the lack of in-store traffic. So here we are. So with that, we're going to turn it to you guys, and we want to know, how has business overall been affected so far? In light of COVID-19.
We can go in the same order as well. So Manuel, feel free to start.
Good. I mean, from the e-commerce point of view, it's looking really good. But that's also because all those 82 stores are closed. But actually, we doubled the revenue. The conversion rate is going up by like 80%. Like it's from the e-commerce perspective, it's going really good. But we can't get the whole revenue from all the other stores. So what we try to do for the customer in this COVID situation is like, first of all, like get all the correct informations out for them. And for that, we use Dynamic Yield. Like we use Dynamic Yield to delete informations which were not relevant, to deactivate like functions which were not needed, and to get the customer actually to the place which he was interested in. And what we really noticed is like the home fitness, like working out at home was like a real boom. We set up like a big teaser with the products, like the weights and the mats and all that. We made a landing page for the customers, and a lot of customers who went over those landing pages, they had also a bigger conversion rate. Like some fun facts is like we had like days where we sold like 2 tons of weights, like just in one day. So they were like just tracks going out of the warehouses with weights for the customers. And that's something we really noticed very much. what we also had, like that the warehouse didn't work so fast anymore, because I mean, also there they had the rules to stay away from each other and all that. And so we had to make really good adjustments that the online store has the correct products in it, that they don't get sold out. And with that, we also use the recommendations of dynamic yield to show the products when there was one sold out, which would be other things they could use. So with a lot of tweaking of the website, we try to help the customer to find the right things, as well as also, as I said before, there were like 82 stores which are closed. That's employees who were working there who couldn't work anymore. So we tried to get the people on top with a chat onto the products, so they could help the customers. They could help through the chat select the correct bike. I mean, the bike is not something that you really buy that much online, but here it actually really worked, and the customers and the employees from the stores actually could work really well together.
So, Manuel, I have an additional question. You know, as a very large retailer, I'm curious if you've seen any super distinct categorical trends, right? So, you know, whether it's a decrease in outdoor gear, or as you said, an increase in like at-home exercise, what are the main categorical trends you've been seeing, and how have you guys really capitalized off of that?
I mean, the main category which really went up was like with the working out, like also with the big fitness tools, like they got sold like really well. And also just from weights to big stuff, also for small stuff like mini bands and stuff like that, they got really sold out very fast. So fitness, it was one of the biggest upsellers in the e-commerce. And then there was also bikes. Bikes also worked very well, because the season is also for bikes, and usually the customers go into the store and get their help. But now all the stores are closed, so there we also noticed an increase. But the first one is fitness. Yeah.
Very interesting. All right. Ryan, you want to take it away?
Sure. So I think from our perspective, obviously being an agency centered around experimentation, specifically talking about the agency itself, we've actually seen quite an increase in the number of requests from clients, just in terms of trying to get that competitive advantage in the current climate. So obviously with everyone moving towards e-commerce at the minute, because obviously stores are closed, a lot of the clients that we're working with are now trying to use experimentation, A/B tests, MVT tests to try and get that competitive advantage to capitalize on exactly what the user's looking for. Now, we do have some clients who work in verticals that have been like positively impacted. So within the fitness sector, within like toiletries, etc. But we've also seen that there's actually been like a general increase in terms of every business people are choosing to stay in at the minute, and people are choosing to, well, they've got that disposable income to spend. So one of the key verticals that we've seen grow quite significantly is the gifting market.
Very interesting. Now, Ryan, have you seen a difference in the digital marketing and experimentation ramp up between those industries? So, you know, you take an industry that's benefiting from COVID, are they as aggressive right now and as kind of nose to the grindstone in terms of experimentation as a business that, you know, had to close a lot of physical stores and is basically just trying to, you know, maintain course?
It depends, and I think it really depends on what Mamo was saying then, which is warehouse capacity. So those who have got limited warehouse capacity are starting to, well, they're trying to get a competitive advantage, but they're also trying not to overwork the warehouse staff, because ultimately there's a fine line between an increase in sales versus actually warehouse functions not being able to facilitate the orders that are coming through. So I think, yeah, the ramp up that we've seen primarily has been in all businesses, but actually those who are a bit more aggressive.
Okay, that makes sense. My other question, Ryan, was a little bit more high level. So I know you guys are big in the user psychology arena, right? So leveraging kind of all these different psychological theories to essentially impact our digital marketing strategy. So I'm curious how you guys have navigated that in this recent pandemic, right? Because obviously the mentality, the subconscious, the thought process of a consumer today is very different than it was, a month ago. So curious how you guys have approached that.
Yeah, I think one of the key things for us was really starting to understand like the market appetite. So we ran a UK-wide survey just to understand how users were feeling about COVID, how they were planning to change their shopping habits. And one of the most surprising things that we found in that report was actually people weren't overly concerned, and people were actually willing to spend money because there was an increase in disposable income because they weren't going out to pubs and restaurants. They had that ability to spend. And what we saw was actually a huge increase in the appetite to spend on others. So I think part of our strategy towards focusing on businesses who may not play in the core verticals has been how you can start to leverage content and products within kind of this whole like gifting mentality. So rather than trying to just force product, it's also been about, well, showing loved ones that you care and being able to deliver products on time to show loved ones that you're thinking about them and you've got kind of their interests at your heart during this time. I think that's been quite a big success in terms of what we've seen across our clients, because again, it feels like during this time when users have got more income and obviously those who feel stable in their jobs have got that income that they can spend, then they are willing to spend it. I think the side to that is also that we've seen sessions reduce slightly to websites, because I think there is a slight hesitation for those who potentially have uncertainty surrounding their job and their future. But generally those sites who are still getting the sessions, sites are still getting the sessions, conversion is increased. And it seems one of the core motivators to actually get people to convert is this whole gifting and buying for others.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a massive point right there, Ryan, that right now, what I call softer testing is super impactful, right? So not necessarily pushing product, right into users' face or trying to get them to check out instantly, but creating content and messaging that is understanding of what everyone's going through, right? It's sensitivity is at an all-time high. So we're looking to really cater to the user there. And Ryan, I think, you did a great job at highlighting that. So awesome to hear.
Thank you.
And Albert.
Yeah, I think I will cover like 4 different verticals that we work with because this situation impacted them differently. And okay, obviously I will start from grocery, which is booming. It is very obvious. And I would say that agenda for them is quickly shifting from user onboarding, which was the challenge for them, obviously in the past, because it was really difficult and really like challenging for them to onboard new user, which like should start, buying grocery online. But now it's not a big problem for them. The big problem is fulfillment, how to fulfill all these orders, and very quickly, priority is shifted from user onboarding to user retention, because they already forecast that in couple like 2-3 months they will fight for retention of these users, because some part of these users will obviously churn. And for grocery, okay, it goes like the same as in any other countries, I think. The second segment is consumer electronics. Okay, they see growth because everyone like sitting at home, everyone needs laptops, maybe cheap laptops, and iPad for their kids, and so on and so on. And their omni-channel structure, I would say, like structure of their sales, obviously shifts to online. But we see that this growth goes in the price of future sales, because when everyone will have like laptops and iPhones and iPads, what will be in 6 months, for example, when everyone just fulfills the demand of different electronic gadgets. So this is challenging. This is the like next wave challenge for them. The next vertical which I would cover is fashion companies, and fashion e-commerce is one of main segment for DIY customers like all over the world. And obviously they have the same dynamics as is the full industry, because people just stop buying clothes because just you need only maybe sports stuff, and that's it. And that's why what we see our customers are shifting to transforming into marketplaces. They are very quickly trying to embrace this new paradigm that they're becoming marketplaces. Maybe they always planned to become a marketplace and to shift to this business model, but this situation just motivates them to do it very quickly. That's why this is what we see. And we're here with capabilities of Dynamic Yield, help to highlight new coming categories and new coming items to the users, so that they could consider this fashion retailer as more as a marketplace. And we have also customer from airlines industry. That's the toughest. I would think travel is suffering from this more than others. Everything freezed. It's understandable, but you know that we consider this as a postponed demand, because in some time in the future everyone will start flying and traveling and so on and so on. And airline companies, they started to activate their loyalty programs. And for example, customer of ours, they started some campaign that you earn miles while you're sitting at home. So what it means that they give miles for some actions. They just gamify this process to maximize the chances to get customers back when everything will be okay. So these are some different shifts and different impacts on different verticals. Yeah.
I love that. I think that was such a unique experience in general to have an airline do that. And I'm curious from all the panelists if you feel that loyalty programs or the customers that have bought in the past are essential right now to be on site, or is there a lot of money spent on user acquisition and new users?
No, actually, all these user acquisition budgets are almost freezed. I mean, because yeah, for example, airline companies, they just don't need to acquire new users. It's obvious. But for example, another vertical, grocery, also doesn't need to acquire new users as well, because users just come, by themselves. So mostly budgets are freezed, and I think structure of budgets is a bit transformed, and this money just put into fulfillment and logistics, and maybe communicating to customers more tactical stuff. What I didn't cover that we see a lot of tactical campaigns. What Manuel and Ryan already mentioned, that companies just communicate what's happening, what is the level of minimum order value, because it can change every day. What is the level of support, for example, for elder persons, because for example, grocery companies, they try to support elderly persons to deliver products with some more care, I would say, something like this.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think Amanda really just hit on a super important point here. obviously, everyone on the call, we here at DY preach audiences over everything, right? It's the key to segmentation, to personalization, et cetera. So I'm curious from maybe Manuel, from a retailer standpoint, your uptick in digital, do you have any insight into whether it's been mainly your loyalists spending more, or are you bringing in net new users? Essentially, how has your core audience base and your usual audience base changed due to the pandemic?
I mean, we're noticing having new users. I mean, that's totally a number that goes up. And the good thing about this pandemics is what we can deliver to them. I mean, and they will stay with us, because at the moment is when you order till 5, you will get it the next day. That was something which we always try to keep up. So all the new users which come and order something and get it the next day, they will stay, hopefully, users forever, because they're just happy with the service which we deliver. So we're noticing a big increase on new users. That's totally sure.
I think that's a trend a lot of retailers are seeing. Basically, with COVID, people are stuck at home. It means they have more time to peruse your competitors, to compare and contrast. So you're going to get a lot of net new users that are getting to your site, and it's really important to obviously capture them most effectively.
Yeah.
So
I think something which is very important, that what I said, the delivery times. I mean, they're stuck at home. They want to order something. They want to actually to have it now. They want to have the weights, for example. They want to have it now. They want to do something now. How those is with the fitness, you start and then it goes down again. A lot of people. So if we can deliver fast, they get it. They can do their fitness. They're happy. So that's something we really try to be up to date and get it out to the customer.
Yeah, and to that point, right? When you are a company who has that luxury, you want to call that out, right? You want to call out that you don't have any shipping delays, right? Because there will be folks whose distribution centers are affected and they do have shipping delays, right? So always want to capitalize off of those, essentially value propositions that you can garner over from a user over a different company.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that we didn't have shipping delays, because we did, but we tried to keep them as small as possible. That really worked on that.
Right, of course. We have a question too from David, one of our attendees. Have you used content to market your products in any new ways? Example, written reviews, video reviews, customer polling. If so, is there a particular kind of content marketing that is working better than others?
I think from my perspective on this one, the majority of clients that we're working with in terms of both landing page and email send outs that they're working on currently, a lot of the work that we're doing is centered around that whole proposition of being open to gift, just because we've seen it as quite a big opportunity that existed in the UK market. So when we looked at general appetites towards purchases, it was obviously food, toiletries, but then I think in 3rd or 4th position, gifting came out, and it kind of feels like there is this innate tie-in that people want to have the ability and kind of openly talk about being able to treat others. So that's one type of content that's worked really well from a marketing perspective. The other, I think, ties in, I can't remember whether it was Albert or Manuel who was saying, I think it was Albert, around users wanting things now and wanting something to do now. So again, starting to tailor the delivery proposition to talk about, well, this is when you can get your product, but in the meantime, here's some content to engage you. So one of our clients works in the, they sell luxury biscuits. And again, it works really well from a gift perspective. So they're doing quite well. But in the meantime, they've been offering users, whilst they wait for their products, the ability to start to bake their products at home and start to get a feel for how those products kind of are made and the time. And also, I think it's quite a nice educational piece, because it shows users it's probably not as easy as baking biscuits to get them as luxury and as well decorated as they do. So it's kind of that education piece for the user as well. So yeah, it has been quite tailored towards COVID, but mostly around buying treats.
I think that that's really great. And I think that that's really important for these brands to be playing with, like, you know, supporting these users' time that they have on hand, or the customers' time that they have on hand, and in a way that is that's supporting them during this entirely insane time that we're going through with all the time we have. So I like that it's nice to see these brands contributing in that way and not just asking for product to be bought. Another question out there we have, can you describe an action you have taken with DY that was quick, simple, and made a big impact, I guess, just for one of your customers, or something that you thought of offhand and just like was able to deploy quickly?
I can go on that one. Yes, something we did really fast is like we opened up the content page that was called Stay at Home Fitness. And then we had our recommendation based on affinities for specific categories like yoga, weights, all these different things with a little bit description on it. And based on the affinity, the correct or the better products were shown for the specific people who actually visited it. And people who went over that page had a higher conversion rate. So that was really fast and set up, and yeah, worked
Awesome.
well. Yeah, and something we also did to increase the revenue is we had A/B testing on recommendations and strategies already running. So we paused or just stopped the ones which were not running so well. So we focused really on what is going well and just shift the traffic to the correct positions. That was also done really easy.
Did you have to take into consideration more of a short time period to analyze those results? Like user behavior may have changed just if, let's say, the test was running throughout the month of February where everything was stable and fine, or maybe January for you guys if you're overseas from us, compared to March, like if you were looking at those results, like how did you analyze that?
We let it run a little bit.
Shift.
Yeah, we let it run a little bit into the epidemic, and afterwards we just like stopped or like reduced the whole traffic, so we can still have it like running, or pause it like if it was really bad, but we didn't like crash it, but just like try to shift the people to the right where we thought that's the right decision. So we never really know it, but that's where we try to push them, and still analyzing further.
Okay, good to know.
I have an example.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
I have something to add. One customer of ours, which is like a consumer electronics retailer, we have launched like video chat, like a video consultations, something like this, for customers which have been stuck in a cart like for some time. It means they're choosing like to buy or not to buy. This is like a feature which helps to communicate with like a sales associate in offline, because some segments, some audiences, some segment of customers, they still need to communicate with the real human to understand if this or that item suits their needs, what are the characteristics and something like this. So we have launched this video chat. It is, I'm not sure this is very like quick and very, easy to launch feature, but
Yeah.
still there are a lot of different tools which may be triggered by DY, and just some not an integration, but some triggering of some external application for that offline like experience.
That's really interesting. Did you feel like that was successful, the video chat?
Yeah. This remote work brings one very interesting, let's say, change. that people are very open to have, you know, Zoom calls with videos, because before that everyone just not many people were very open to have video calls. But you know, after you know this situation, everyone just wants to speak in person. Everyone, for some reason, started to maybe laugh a bit more, or not hate that much audio messages and WhatsApp or other messengers, because for me personally, I hate, you know, audio recordings, because you just cannot. But right now, you are, you know, a bit more open to hear some voices. Not really, you know.
Right.
I can
it's
actually
really wonderful to hear. Yeah, go ahead, Harry.
I can echo that as well, Albert. I think that the concept of visual and video engagement has risen dramatically, and the efficacy of it has also risen dramatically, right? So I have several kind of retailers that sell either furniture, lighting equipment, home goods, right? And they're offering virtual consultations, right? So now a user can talk to someone virtually and pick out the best things for them because they can't go into the store. You know, I have a travel trip booking company that they can't book trips right now. So they're having all of their kind of partners put together videos of like doing origami, you know, if you take a trip to Japan, or cooking pasta if you go to Rome. So I think that, Albert, you touched on a super, super impactful point of any creative ways to get a user engaged within their home, a la video, video chat, whatever it is, should be really effective during the pandemic.
Yeah, right.
It truly adds additional dimension.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just going to move on. Go ahead.
Good. Let's move on. It's time.
Okay, cool. So we're going to run through some trends seen in the DY platform. And what we're going to do, or what I'd like to see happen, is have our panelists kind of talk, not through this first slide, but on the next slide, talk about how these data points have impacted them. So this first slide is just showing you the change in essentially experimentation, right? So campaigns launched this year versus last year. You can obviously see there's a massive uptick in 2020. And this is for all the reasons we've already discussed, right? People are home, they have more time, they're perusing the web a lot more. So that means that we need to make sure the user experience is as good as possible, right? It needs to be in tip-top shape. And the way we do that is obviously through testing, personalization, right? So you can see that visualized here in this graph. We definitely expect this to continue for the foreseeable future. Next are some data points that I'll run through quickly, and then, you know, would love for the panelists to chime in for anything they've seen related to this. So we'll start with the two on the left, which are pretty positive, right? So first is, you know, traffic and purchases increased dramatically during the pandemic. You know, we knew this was going to happen. People are stuck at home. And then also just year-over-year purchase rates, right? So in March, during the pandemic, when everyone was home, obviously purchase rates skyrocketed because, you know, people weren't out and about and didn't have other responsibilities they needed to tend to. If we go to the right side, we have a couple of negative data points, and we'll talk through each of those. The first is higher cart abandonment. The reason for this, at least in my opinion, is partly due to people now using their cart as almost just a wish list, right? It's becoming a curation tool. So as we talk about having the ability to go look at your competitors and peruse other brands, users are starting to use their cart as essentially just placeholders, right? So you'll go to one company, throw a few things in your cart, browse a competitor, put some things in your cart, and essentially just use that as your wish list. And then lastly, AOV and IPT falling dramatically. Again, this is to be expected, right? We spoke about how we have this influx of new users, which means we're going to have an influx of relatively low spenders that want to try our product, right? They're not necessarily returning users or loyalists who are going to break the AOV and, you know, spend a ton of money with us. So with that being said, we'd love to take it to the panelists. How have you guys, either Manuel for you know, your specific company, or Ryan and Albert, any of your clients, how you've seen these data points trending over the past few months?
I'll go first. Yeah, sure. I will start at the back. Average order value actually didn't really decrease very much. It went down a little bit, but it didn't go down that much at all. No. Cart abandonment, I can't really say. I don't have the numbers with me. But talking to the cart abandonment, we have a even other KPI which is more important for us is like the return rate, like how much stuff actually gets returned, and that really decreased. Like people don't deliver it back at the moment. Maybe it's also because of the big products which we sell, like the fitness things, or maybe it's also because the stores are not open. Because if the stores would be open, people could deliver, bring it back again for free to the stores. So maybe if we open up the stores again, there will be like a lot of people going bringing stuff back. We're not sure what will happen. Yeah.
Interesting. And Manuel, do you think the marginal decrease in AOV, do you think that can be attributed to an increase in average item price? So you mentioned, big bikes, big items. So if the overall item being sold is more expensive, do you think that's what's keeping AOV relatively afloat?
Yes, I think so. That could be. I mean, we sell electrical mountain bikes for X thousands of Swiss francs. And yeah, and then we sell mini bands for like 10 francs. So I think that keeps it up a little bit. And so that's
Sure.
The decrease is not so big in that point. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Ryan or Albert, anything to chime in here?
No, I think it's probably a similar pattern to Manuel, especially around AOV from our perspective is we've not really seen AOV completely drop out. We have seen a slight change in items per transaction, i.e. that has reduced, but AOV appears to have pretty much been retained. And I don't know whether that's because there's been quite like a conscious decision by retailers to essentially move out of like this whole like discount 3 for 2 kind of mentality where users previously would have been able to buy 3 for 2 at an offer, whereas now you're probably just buying 1 or 2 at a set price without the offer currently being in place, because obviously A, they've got to manage stock, B, they're trying to look after warehouse stuff. So I think AOV could potentially have been retained because the number of sales hasn't actually, like the number of products on sale hasn't been as aggressive, because the traffic coming through to sites with, I guess, key products or key verticals. I think that's why the AOV has been retained. From a sessions perspective, though, we've seen an average. So if we take the data from all our clients, we're probably looking at an average decrease of between 11 to 15% in terms of sessions, but that's significantly off-weighted by the increase that you see in conversion rates amongst all of those anyway. So it kind of feels like people aren't tire kicking as much, but those who are coming to the website are actively looking for a reason to buy. So I think just to quickly jump back to the question that came through earlier, which is something that as a potential quick win, specifically looking at different audience segments, you've got a lot of new users visiting sites now who are looking to purchase, who are looking to try and create an initial relationship with a brand. And one thing that we've seen in terms of success rates and a change in behavior is the ability for users to sign up to CRM and mailing lists as well. So it gives businesses a really good opportunity to try and segment their audience and these new users who potentially would never have been exposed to their brand, and start to engage them kind of off-site, but still online through CRM. So yeah, they're the changes that I would say.
No, that's a great call out. That's a really great call out. All right. So this next question, I think, we've kind of already covered, but essentially it's, you guys have maybe 1 or 2 tidbits, either one for the positive side or the negative side. What did you try once this pandemic hit that either worked instantly and, hit the ground running, a la Ryan's gifting example, or what didn't work, right? And what did you learn from that moving forward?
I can quickly answer just to bolt onto where I was going then I can hand over to the other
Sure.
guys. But the one thing that didn't work for us is one of the key drivers behind COVID, as far as we were aware, was going to be this whole contact-free delivery. So things being delivered to the house and kind of being left on the doorstep, or the courier leaving it with you without actually handing it over. we thought that would be quite huge, but actually it turns out that messaging around that didn't really change anyone's perceptions. And I actually think that the main reason for that, from what we can see from our analysis, is actually people just expect it, given that it's government guidance, given that it's something that's already out there, that people and that the couriers are actively promoting anyway. The inclusion of that doesn't really appear to separate your proposition from anyone else. So from not a negative, but from a neutral perspective, contact-free delivery as a call out or as a proposition that a business can offer didn't really appear to change anything from what we can see.
That's really interesting. It's, you know, I can liken that to the Amazon effect almost, right? So free shipping nowadays doesn't carry the same weight it used to, right? Because Amazon has essentially desensitized us to free shipping. So it's interesting, you know, when everyone else is zigging, usually you want to zag, right? So great call out, Ryan. Sorry, Amanda, were you saying something?
Sorry, I just also wanted to see if Albert had anything to add to the previous slide, just because I know that we missed him, or if he wants to take this question as well.
Yeah, thank you. I will be very quick. I think as we are a bit behind in terms of growth of COVID, so we still not see all this, you know, dramatic falls of AOV and cart abandonment, except I would say obviously airlines and maybe consumer electronics, because they have been growing in March, but in April this growth is a bit slowed down. Yes, we see that number of purchases and number of conversions just grows and increased in March significantly, together with AOV and with user base of websites. So this is because of user base. So it's not a big deal. Just you know, not rocket science to predict this.
Right.
Okay, and I can just, you know, move to the next question. What's working and what's not? I think it again, it differs. It depends on vertical. I think that all the tactical campaigns, messaging, small tweaks, remove this block or put that block, or, you know, add this message. This works. It is not about, you know, conversion optimization. It's about very quick tweaks, and this works from our experience, because DY allows marketing teams, you know, to do it very, very fast together with us, and not, you know, just they shouldn't wait. They're, you know, developers. You know, DY always, you know, faster than in-house developers. So we have launched campaigns. I think we did it several, maybe 10 or 15 campaigns a day. It's not a big deal for us, like to launch it together with the customer, because these times they just need, you know, very quick and very, you know, like quick and some, you know, some not very smart maybe solutions. And I would say that how strategy changed, that customers that companies that always struggled with user onboarding now will struggle with user retention. This shifted like very fast, and also that companies that had really strong loyalty programs, such as airline companies like Miles and so on, their business was built around loyalty program, around some, you know, some your unique number, your unique customer number. That companies, I think, will be okay, because they have something to keep user with. And if you don't have your loyalty program, I would say loyalty program is something that is like a backbone of marketing right now, of data-driven marketing. So this will be very hard for them, but I'm not sure that we work with some customers that have weak loyalty programs, because other way it would be very difficult to embrace DIY capabilities for them.
My personal perspective about that is like more than, I don't even know if it's a strategy that changed, but it's the thinking of the people who work with these tools for dynamic yield. Like this whole COVID-19, as bad as it is, it's a great jump for the digitalization of the, everybody who's working in this business. Like we could try out stuff, and also with dynamic yield, like the content managers, they were like more on, okay, let's do something, because everybody was at home, and it was less like about discussing and talking stuff till it dies. Actually, they actually started to try out stuff, do stuff, try out something else. So like it changed, the mindset changed in this wise, and they just tried, and not based on like all the online strategies, they just did it and look if it actually works or if it doesn't work. So that's what we did, and a lot of people did it on their own. And a strategy which I think really helped, and where we also noticed that people really are interested in it, is like the help for the customers, like for the chat. We didn't have a chat because we didn't have people behind it. And then we set up the chat, and we also triggered the chat at the right places, like for availability questions, for order questions, for product questions, and then sent the people to the right chats. They get the right answers, and they will be, they'll buy earlier than somebody who hasn't have the right answers. So the strategy for us are like really personalization to the people who actually want to get the right information, and then the conversion rate will also get better.
Albert and Ryan, has there been any experience, or are you working with any customers that are selling jewelry, and has there been anything that you've noticed in the jewelry market specifically? If not, that's fine. I know it's kind of specific, but just curious from one of our.
Yeah, we have people who work in the jewelry vertical. Again, I think I'm probably going to sound like a broken record with this one, but from a tie-in with jewelry, there's not an essential product that you can harness, because people don't need anything from a jewelry shop at this point. They're not going out to use them. It is all around gifting. Like the big changes that we've seen from a jewelry perspective have been from a gifting. So of all the verticals, that's the one where we've seen AOV hit quite hard, because the change has gone from, actually, I'm not going to spend $1,500 to £2,000 on a luxury watch. What I am going to do is I'm going to spend £200, £150 on a bracelet, a necklace, etc., to try and send that as a gift. And also, I think if you look at the Google Trend data, you can start to see that actually there's some really nice changes in terms of terms such as like friendship bracelets, for example. The search terms for friendship bracelets is just gone through the roof, because people want that ability to kind of engage with others that they can't see, and gifting gives them the way in which to do that. So yeah, specifically from a jewelry perspective, that's the kind of angle that we've approached it from, as well as kind of just making sure that there feels like there's a great sense of value for these new users, because again, jewelry is probably one of the verticals where these baskets are being filled up and then no one's making a decision, because it is quite a substantial purchase as a gift. So there is that ability for users to want to shop around. So it's just about driving value from a basket perspective, but then harnessing on these like key triggers, which mainly center around like showing loved ones that you care, showing friends that you're always going to be there. So and merchandising the site, both from a gifting perspective, but also another like exciting point that you could potentially pick up on from jewelry, we haven't looked at it too much, is the potential for something like eternity rings. Because again, a lot of weddings have been postponed due to COVID. There's a lot of engagements that have been put on hold. And I think you are starting to see this, now that this is becoming the new norm, people are wanting to try and get that back on track. And it feels like Eternity Rings could offer a huge opportunity there as well.
It's really interesting. Yeah, I agree. Okay, cool. So let's move on, Harry.
Yep, awesome. So lastly, guys, I want to talk about the recovery. Essentially what it looks like in your opinion for your business or for your clients, and how businesses will need to adapt moving forward, right? Do you think this is a momentary blip in the forever timeline, or do we think that this is something that's going to sustain, right? Do we think that this is going to have lasting impacts on consumer sentiment and whatnot? So, yeah, take it away.
I think it won't be as good as at the moment, but I think it will stay. I mean, a lot of people will notice how easy it is to order something and get it back. I mean, anyways, the new customers and how fast they actually get it. And I think they will hopefully stay our customers. And I think also a lot of other companies who were not set up like as good as we are, for example, also little companies, they're thinking about how can they get set up better if anything ever happens again like this. I mean, yeah, you never know. So if it's a little garden shop like or the bakery or whatever, how can they get set up like with e-commerce, with the right products? I mean, they can't afford dynamic yield, but how can they get their stuff up and running if anything happens again? So I hope the business will be going as well in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
So Ryan, before you take this, I just want a quick question for Manuel. Do you think that this will then change the sentiment moving forward for brick and mortar, right? So a company that maybe had a slew of physical stores, they noticed how much business they made up for that digitally. Do you maybe see places not necessarily reopening their entire catalog of stores?
I don't think so. I wouldn't say that, because we also noticed that there are a lot of people really do have questions and they really need help, and they're looking forward to that the stores open again and they can go to the store and talk to people and get their help. So I don't think that we would like eliminate multiple stores. I don't think so. No.
Okay, cool. Ryan, feel free.
Sure. I was just going to kind of echo that sentiment, which I do think it has changed for the foreseeable, but I don't think the change is going to be as drastic as what we're seeing over the next, like over the previous month and probably over the next few months. I think from my perspective and from what we've seen, that the core audience that appears to be leaning towards sticking around from an e-commerce perspective is this kind of 35 to 44-year-old audience who potentially may have previously lent more towards like just being able to kind of like quickly nip to the shop and quickly run into store to find something. Actually, what we're seeing amongst this audience is, because they generally in this kind of hectic family life mentality, they're seeing the convenience of online. So actually, I think they're the ones who offer the real long-term opportunity for retailers out there. The other thing that comes into play as well is the longer term recovery, and the way in which like different governments are going to be approaching how we respond to this means that actually e-commerce sites might need to facilitate the in-store journey a little bit more. So that could be things like appointment booking to allow for some form of social distancing within stores, so that you can start to create some form of, rather than having everyone queuing outside of every store, you might need the e-commerce sites to facilitate this on time, rather than creating like what could potentially be a mass gathering of people by making them essentially queue. And the one final point on this for me is, I actually think one of the key findings that we found from our report was that actually if you take a look at e-commerce versus stores traditionally, the risk has always been on on e-commerce, because if you put your card details in, there's a chance a hacker could get it, for example. That's like the whole mentality around e-commerce. Whereas now the balance has changed. It's a hacker could get it, but I know it's really unlikely. Whereas if I go in store, I could catch something that could potentially kill me. Now, being killed is obviously seen as more severe than actually a hacker stealing your details. So I think at the minute, there's been a balance shift in the e-commerce versus store debate, in terms of e-commerce is now starting to feel safer. However, if in the future there is potentially like a big data breach or something like that, then I think that's got the potential of actually shifting things back in favor of store.
Yeah, I would agree. I think in the balance of like online and offline, it's a bit shifting to online, but still offline is a very big share of retail. So people will go to offline, will visit brick and mortar stores, and nothing changes from my perspective here. And I think that maybe for some industries and some products, with I don't know, with some cyclical purchases, with replenishments, I mean some home stuff, food, and so on. This situation will be like it will catalyze the business models, because this is something which is very good for them. So for them it's okay. I think that this spike in purchase and followed balancing with resources which companies acquired in some time in the future will be the situation that these companies will need to somehow maybe fire or somehow do something with these resources, with people, with facilities, and this will be restructuring of a market. I don't know in which way. And also, as I see that fashion, like classic fashion e-commerce retailers transform into marketplaces, it drives them, drives some classic monobrand retailers to like move into marketplaces. And also I see that some initiatives of big FMCG companies to launch their own, monobrand e-commerce stores. Some, from my point of view, some silly initiatives which have no future. I think this will be just this will have just an end. This will come to an end, because they will need to cooperate with big players, with marketplaces, because no one needs monobrand like store of, I don't know, Danone, for example.
Sure.
And I think it comes as I think that e-commerce that late adopters, I mean users and like late adopting users, they're coming to e-commerce. That's why this will be shifting to more stable business models. Yeah. So this is my view. Yeah.
Great. Now, to wrap things up here, and I know we're over time, so I'd like each panelist to just maybe give one sentence here. But if we were to basically split up this whole COVID experience into 3 phases, we titled them just loosely here. What phase do you think we are in today? And yeah, just quick sentence of where you think we are today, and maybe when you think we'll be moving to phase 3 if we're not already there. Manuel?
Actually, I would say we're at phase 3, road to recovery, because the stores are going up soon in 2 weeks, 11th of May in Switzerland. So we're trying to get recovery, like how can we help the customers at the stores, informations and all that.
Fantastic. Ryan?
Yeah, I'd say the same. I feel like the appetite for online is starting to come back. For the previous products that were probably been like held on purchase for a few weeks, is back. So we're on the road to recovery, and I think we'll start to see that, especially similar to what Manuel says, with stores reopening over the next few weeks. It probably won't be as soon as the 11th of May, but it'll be soon after.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Albert?
I think we are somewhere between phase 2 and phase 3, actually. Because we want to think about recovery, but I think we still have some risks of, I don't know, second waves or something like this, and still not there.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good illustration of how basically, depending on where your core business is in the world, that's largely going to determine what phase you're in right now. So really like the expansive answers there. So appreciate that, guys. All right. So not really much time for Q&A. So we're going to wrap it up here. Amanda, you want to wrap things up?
If you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@dynamicyield.com. Yeah, and I guess here's our blog resource. And I think that ultimately covers it.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for those who joined. Big thank you to the panelists. You guys were fantastic. And we hope to see everyone back here soon for another webinar. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.